Thanks for joining us for a special short series of Through the Leadership Lens, brought to you by the Women in Propane Council. This series is proudly sponsored by the Propane Gas Association of New England, or PGANE. We will be running these episodes throughout 2026 and we'll be wrapping up with a live podcast at the Northeast Show in August. We can't wait to see you there. I am Freddie Ridler, and as always, I'm joined by my partner in crime and the brains behind the brilliance, Jessica Balderston.
Thank you, Freddie. We have two very special guests joining us today. Judy Taranovich, beloved industry leader, longtime advocate for education and community, and consultant for Procter Gas, where she helped steer the company through more than 4 decades of service. From grassroots outreach like Propane Kids Day to shaping industry policy as Vermont State Director for the NPGA, Judy has led the industry with passion and purpose. Thank you, Judy, for joining us.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yes, we also have Ryan Jackson, CEO of DF Richard Energy, where he's dedicated 26 years of visionary leadership for nearly 3 decades in the industry. Ryan's deep commitment to his community and sector shines through his service as past chair of the Propane Gas Association of New England, vice chair of the NPGA Marketer section, and long-standing roles of NPGA committees. Thank you both for joining us today for our special PGANE edition to Through the Leadership Lens. Now, Ryan and Judy, we always start off our podcast with one question. And Judy, I'll start with you on this one. What does leadership mean to you, and how has it changed over the years?
Gosh, it's really changed a lot from actually being a young girl being raised in the restaurant business, my mom being the owner and technically the leader, to just recently as owner of Procter Gas. I think the landscape has really changed in leadership, employer-employee relations. And I think, I had a little Italian mother who kind of ruled with an iron fist. And today it's more of, I think, collaborative effort between the employer and the employees, creating much more of a team atmosphere.
Definitely, it takes all people to be able to run companies, that's for sure. Ryan, I'd like to ask you the same question since everybody's answer is always a little bit different on that.
Yeah, leadership to me is inspiring others to communicate effectively and work together towards a common goal. I believe leadership has changed a lot in the past 3 to 5 years. In that, command and control leadership really isn't the way of the future, and you have to be willing to coach and lead others down the path that you feel is necessary.
Yeah, that's great, and I love to hear. I'm just making notes throughout this whole thing because it's always a fun question to start off our podcast with is leadership, and I think you're right, Ryan. It has changed. Jess and I have seen it, and even heard about it from other guests that have been on the Women in Propane's podcast. That it's not that commanding force anymore. It's that a good leader is someone that you can trust, follow, and lead by example. And so, yeah, excited to hear more about those conversations throughout this podcast. So, throughout this podcast, Jess and I also like to ask some fun questions along the way. So, I'm going to start off the fun question, then I have a question for you, Judy. So, Ryan, we'll start with you. How would your colleagues describe you?
I'm very lucky because I started by painting propane tanks in the industry and was able to work my way up through the company. So I've done just about every job in the company. So I would say my colleagues would describe me as somebody that was willing to grab the reins and do whatever needs to be done to make sure that our customers are taken care of. I think that's probably the best description.
Boots on the ground leader. I love it. And Judy, same question for you, and then I'll have a follow-up question as well. How would your colleagues best describe you, Judy?
I'm really needy, Freddie. I tell them all the time I'm a lot of work. I'm a lot of work. But I honestly, I think I think they would describe me as a leader who really cares about their well-being, both at work and at home. We're my operations manager Lisa and I are always, you know, wondering how the game went last night and how the one that was home sick with a cold is feeling, and so we're just as much engaged in their personal well-being as their business acumen. But yeah, I believe in Ryan's philosophy to roll up your sleeves and be willing to do the same work that you ask of everybody else. I unfortunately, when I came into the industry to run it in 2010, um, I'm visually impaired, so there's some things that I can't do that man, I'd love to get my CDL and be able to hop into the bulk truck and deliver. I think that would be cool and would be great, but I just can't. I have these limitations that I'm not able to come alongside the guys all the time, go out and do a service call. And I did put myself through the CTEP course, but I will tell you point blank, I wouldn't trust me running a line. But I try and make up for it in other ways. I try and show my appreciation for the hard work that they have to do that I can't help them with. So I think I offset it by different things that I do, showing my appreciation.
Mm-hmm. And that kind of segues into my question for you about your being in the propane industry, because it's kind of remarkable how your story of how you came into it. So I'm going to read a little bit of the stuff, and I hope I have some of the dates right. But you met James in 1979, and after a few short years later, you married into the greatest industry ever, propane. And after his passing, you could have easily stepped away, but you chose to keep it alive, the propane industry, the business. What made you feel that propane industry was truly your calling? And along that journey, who was the most influential person that inspired you to continue and make such an impact?
Well, I've said often, especially when I go to the schools, that sometimes we don't pick our career, the career picks us. And when Jimmy passed in 2010, I had, albeit a small company, but a company of 10 employees with families that counted on us going forward. And I had a young son that I didn't know whether he was going to be interested in joining the industry or not. Um, so I fairly quickly made the decision that I thought I wanted to go forward. But I went and sat down with the team a few days after Jimmy passed, and I left it to them. And I said, I can sell the company and I'll be okay. You're all great at what you do, and I know you'll find jobs. Nobody will be without a job. But if you want to stay together as a family business, I'm willing to do that. And you have to understand you're all babysitters, that I will work as hard as I can and learn as quick as I can, but I don't know anything about this industry. And so I told them to go home and take their time and think about it. And they immediately said, no, we want to stay together. So that's the moving forward of Procter Gas. From there, he passed in at the end of September in 2010. The following spring, I went to my first Southeast show, and I didn't have a clue. I mean, people would step out of the booth and say, do you use our products? And I'm like, I don't know, what is that, right? I didn't know what a regulator was, but it'd be hard to pick one person that really came to my aid, and that's what showed me what an amazing industry this was. Joe Rose at the time was the head of PGANE, and I immediately got a call from him. Jack Murdoch was working for Ray Murray, that we'd been a long time customer with them. I immediately got a call from him. And between the two of them, there was never a time that they didn't take phone call. I don't care how busy they were. Um, if it wasn't an emergency, they'd answer and say, can I call you back? But they would always take my call. So they were amazing. That following spring, Bruce Montroy from Berquist put together a little meet and greet at the Embassy Suites, was the host hotel that year for NPGA. And I walked away with probably a 2-inch thick stack of business cards from people that said they served on committees, they knew Jimmy from being in the industry, we were customers, anything you can do. And Freddie, that wasn't a just trying to get business. Those people, years forward, were there for me, whatever I needed. And it is truly a brotherhood in this industry. And it's the collaborative of all of them that really helped keep me going and realize that I got dropped into a pretty amazing industry.
Judy, your story is spectacular. And I wrote a few key leadership points down. In your short, that was like what, just a couple minutes? I wrote down your leadership skills of being upfront and honest with your employees, having communication is key, and then letting them sleep on it. I feel like people make those knee-jerk reactions a lot. And by you even telling them to let them sleep on it, it's amazing. And I also want to echo your thoughts about when you ask for help, you're going to have 15 people reach out and want to genuinely help you in our industry, and that's just spectacular. Okay, you guys ready for a fun question?
Sure.
It's a little out of the box.
Okay.
Okay, Ryan, if Propane had a mascot, what would it look like, and how would it convince people to join our industry?
Oh boy, that's a tough one.
Something you've never thought of
Glad
before,
you're
I'm sure.
Um, what would the mascot be?
Don't say a giant flame. I don't think
Yeah,
that would go well.
yeah. Everything comes back to a tank, right? In our industry, so I would think some type of a tank would be a great mascot. You know, and what it was dressed up as, might be something different. We've all seen plenty of propane tanks out there that have been dressed up to look like something, but yeah, I think some type of a tank, with a special graphic as part of it.
Very fitting. It all ties us together, that's for sure. Judy, what do you think? Any ideas outside the tank?
I know this is going to be really silly, and I'm trying to think of the name of the movie. It's a Disney movie with Monsters Inc. That's what I'm thinking of. That
Yeah.
big blue Sully
Yep.
giving the big hugs, right? I think he would be kind of cool as a mascot, right? Because we're
No,
always
that
saying warm hugs from the heating industry. So
Mm-hmm.
yes.
yeah,
No, that is perfect. That is a good fit as well.
yeah.
Ryan, on a more serious question, this one's for you. You've mentioned that many people kind of shy away from their own leadership skills, but you believe we should be proud of them and that we should celebrate the energy that we bring to our workplace and our communities and our industry. Why do you think it's so important for leaders to embrace that pride and share their stories? And how does that mindset impact the people around us as well?
Yeah, I think not everybody wants to be a leader. Some people, they want to be part of the team, but don't want to be a leader. And that's fine too, because we need all of those people as part of our team to be able to come together and communicate effectively and work towards a common goal. I as we look even just around the community or around our office, everybody plays a role. And it's important for me as their leader to know what their strengths and weaknesses are and to be able to play toward those strengths and weaknesses to be able to, make it better for everybody that's involved.
I got a question for you, Ryan, about that. You said not everyone wants to be a leader or they don't want to highlight their accomplishments, right? But I'm guessing with your role at your business, when you see that happen, how do you, I'm not going to say convince, that's the wrong word. I'm sure there's a better word to use here, but I'll use it. How do you convince that individual to say, be proud of what you did? You're asked to come to this this table because we know you have value, even though you don't think you have that value to come and bring value to this table or this meeting or this project. Do you ever see that at your business or even outside your business? How do you react to those leaders? How do you push them a little bit to take on that responsibility?
I think it's important, first of all, that you listen. I mean, if you listen to them effectively, um, for the full conversation, and maybe not interrupt them and just continue to let them speak, and take everything in, before having a rebuttal or talk or continuing the conversation. It's important to listen, but it's also important for them to understand the qualities that they bring, and to verbalize those and communicate to them effectively that, you know, they might not think it's a big deal, but as part of the big picture, all of these little things add up to bring the total solution.
Do you guys celebrate wins at your
We
office?
always celebrate wins.
Because I feel like it's leading into that. I want to hear about it, and then I'm actually going to talk to you, Judy, next about leadership as well a little bit with Procter. How you found some of those great leaders at Procter Gas. But back to you, Ryan. What do you do to celebrate those wins?
We have all kinds of celebrations, whether it be customer testimonials, customer comments. We have customer comments that come into our customer service reps, and it just gets blown up through the whole company, hung on bulletin boards. Whether it be a customer service rep, whether it be a manager, whether it be a driver, a service technician, just all of that, just blowing those comments up. Whether it be delivery efficiency or we seem to hit record days as we move through this really cold weather, whether it be service revenue or service calls, the amount of service calls that we get done in a day, and just the amount of teamwork that goes into that, whether it be the person taking the call, whether it be the dispatcher, whether it be the technician, whether it be the service manager. There's just all these little parts that have to come together to make everything right. And we celebrate whenever we can, whether it be bonuses or whether it be gift cards, or, we've even paid for trips for families to, go to wherever they want to go, pick a trip, and, we're going to take care of it because, that's what you mean. And that's the important role that you play within our company.
It doesn't take a whole lot, does it, to really bring morale up? And so like I said, Jess and I do these podcasts all the time, and celebrate wins. And I feel like I'll say this because I really don't know. I don't have the factual information on it, but I feel like there's some companies that don't celebrate enough. And even if it's something like you said, your service techs, they did an outstanding job this week. They had all of their busy week done by Thursday. What an accomplishment! Thank you for work going above and beyond. Or maybe you have somebody call in to say, Ryan came in today and fixed some type of appliance. Great guy, like talking to him. Just want to throw that out there. Here's a testimonial. That's what it's all about. That's those wins that make people feel great. And just anyone watching this or viewing this, take what Ryan said. We got to celebrate all those little victories. Switching gears a little bit, I got a quick fun question. We'll start with you, Ryan, and then I'll come over to you, Judy. If you were not in the propane industry, what could you see yourself doing?
Oh, I've never known anything different. I don't know. It'd be something within the trades, though. I love to get my hands dirty. I love to work with my hands. I love to work with other people. One of the things that I really miss, because I'm in the office more now, is the personal interaction with our customers. Talking on the phone to them just isn't the same as being face to face, and being able to read their emotions, and be able to take care of them. So, something in the trade, something that's face to face, something customer service related. I like to make people happy, and you know, that's what it's all about.
Love it. Judy, same question. If you're not in the propane industry, which you're kind of retired now, but you're still in the propane industry, but if you weren't, what could you see yourself doing?
Well, I, I probably wouldn't necessarily do it at this stage of my life and this age, but I was very involved with horses when Jimmy and I met. I was actually, I tell everybody, 100 years and 100 pounds ago, professional horse trainer. And I taught lessons, trained horses, and we showed Appaloosas all over the country. And probably would have stayed in that, would have gone back to that. I could still see myself doing it to some degree, probably not the training anymore, but um, at one time I was thinking about opening a stable for handicapped kids as a therapeutic business. So I guess I'd probably go that route.
That's amazing. Tom was just telling me that there's this organization here in Minnesota that takes handicapped kids out hunting, and that's incredible. Like to give them a specialized wheelchair to get through the CRP land, right? And I think that's amazing giving back. And I mean, my next question kind of rolls right into it. I feel like your fun questions are turning into a segue of what I'm going to ask you. So, Judy, we know you both care about your community and the kids you work with. Can you share some examples of how you demonstrate leadership in those areas, and what does it look like, and how does it impact working with kids in the community?
I think so. I do more with the elementary school, and I think Ryan moves closer to the high school and tech schools. Um, so usually, what I'm doing, I try and open some of the things up to the community. One year, I had a gentleman come who was a professional hot air balloon pilot. So of course, they use propane, right? And I combined that with an after school event at our high school where they brought food for the local food shelf. They
Hmm.
could get tethered hot air balloon rides. So just, trying to show the kids not only are we a great industry to work for, but that we give back and want to do things for the community.
That's an amazing outside the box idea. I think if you're working with elementary kids, they're going to think like I've never thought twice about propane and how it impacts my life. But once they start thinking, those gears start turning for sure.
I think Judy gets them ready for us as they come up through middle school and high school, and then even on to tech school. I think one of the biggest issues or challenges that we have in our industry um, is that we aren't necessarily quote unquote one of the trades because we are very specialized. You could say HVAC is part of our trade because our business does HVAC work as well, but not all propane companies do. So it's important to get out there and speak about propane. You know, propane's different than heating oil. Propane's different than natural gas. Propane's different than every other energy, and it's important that people realize that there is opportunities in industry for just propane. So that's what we try to communicate to the schools. We're also very involved in the communities that we work in. We do not really market or advertise. We take our marketing and advertising budget and dump it right back into the community via donations. Um, so I can give you a recent example during Christmas and Thanksgiving this year. We did about 2,400 Thanksgiving and Christmas food baskets for people that were in need. And we were lucky enough to be able to do that because we feel that's what our customers would want us to do with their money. We have our sales crew here, myself. We spent 4 days before Thanksgiving and 4 days before Christmas, where we not only brought all the food in, but we filled all the baskets, and we're lucky enough to be able to hand out the baskets to all the people coming in to get them as well. So um, it's a pretty impressive, you know, operation to be able to do that, and without a team, it's something that we could never accomplish. So.
I feel like it ties back a little bit to what we were talking about a little bit earlier, that you guys are the boots on the ground. You're leading by example, and by you doing that and your employees seeing that, I feel like that just speaks volumes of it starts at the top and it trickles all the way down.
I think Ryan and I are both also pretty involved in bring back the trades, right? Ryan, you're
Yep.
doing, yeah.
Yep.
And I know for me, we did it at a local college this past fall, and Leslie brought her Ford Explorer that runs on propane, and I had a young lady who was interested in mechanics, was completely fascinated with the engine and the system that ran on propane. And so it was kind of not a piece I really looked at for showcasing our industry, but here's somebody that, who knows, she might go into working with conversions down the road. She stayed there a long time.
You never know what that one
Yeah,
little spark will
yeah,
trigger with somebody on
yeah,
something
Mhm.
simple.
yeah.
Next question kind of segues a little bit for your guys' kids and education and all of that. My question is, what is one non-work hobby that secretly makes you a better leader? And Judy, I'll start with you.
I don't really have a lot of hobbies anymore. I'm very involved in my church. And so I've led a women's group, and I've also been involved in local politics, because I don't think in New England we've had a choice, right? You usually try to keep business and politics separate, but when politics is trying to make your business go away, you have to become a driving force that says you're relevant. And so I don't know if you can call those a hobbies, but they are certainly time consumers that keep me very busy and very active. I do love my ladies group that I do, and basically that was started because single businesswoman, you know, certainly not looking to go to a bar at 65 years old. So, so it was nice fellowship, and we do a lot of fun things together. We go out to eat, or we've rented boats and gone out on the lake and done things like that. And so
Just having those connections with people still. Yeah, amazing. Ryan, how about you? What's one non-work hobby that secretly makes you a better leader?
The one thing I really enjoy, actually, it's a little bit different, but I really enjoy gardening. I have a large garden and a good sized greenhouse. And it's funny how you can relate, all the different aspects that go into growing something from seed, all the way into harvest, and all the different things that you have to do to make that happen. And, some things you do make it come out better. Some things you make mistakes, and it doesn't work as well. So it's funny how you can kind of relate that back to different leadership qualities and traits and things that you do in the work life as well.
That is a fantastic analogy between those two. You need patience, you need to be nurturing, you learn from your mistakes, and you hope you don't kill anybody.
That's
So,
right.
Yeah, and you have, and it has to be resilient to weather, which you can't
yes,
control.
right.
yep,
That's a really good analogy. I like that.
that is. I like that too.
Hmm.
Okay, switching gears just a little bit. You both have been deeply involved in the NPGA, PGANE, and other industry organizations. Why do you believe it's so important for leaders to engage with our industry? And what advice would you give someone who wants to be more involved but isn't sure where to start? And Ryan, we'll start with you on answering that one.
Excellent. Yeah, no, I've been involved, as you know, with PGANE for a number of years, with NPGA for a few less years, but um, the amazing part of these organizations is that there's so many smart people in our industry. I know when I started with PGANE, and even still a lot of time with NPGA, I was the youngest person in the room. And I remember looking around and saying to myself, wow, all these people are going to retire at the exact same time. What are we going to do as an industry? So I was like a sponge, just absorbing as much as I could. One of the first NPGA meetings I went to was on the technical safety and standards committees, which had a bunch of engineers. And I mean, these guys are really, really, really smart. And I learned so much in 2 years just by listening. I didn't even have to open my mouth. All I had to do was listen. And there was so much knowledge in the room that I was able to bring back to our own business. For people that aren't involved, that want to get involved, jump in with 2 feet. Don't hold back. There's nobody in the industry that's not going to talk to you. There's nobody that's not going to welcome you. Come in, jump in with 2 feet, get involved. The more we have involved, the better, especially as people in our industry start to retire. We've got to get more of the younger workforce involved, so we can all work together to come up with a common goal and make propane safe and efficient.
Agreed. It takes just that one step for people. And then I feel like once you do get involved, there's no turning back after that. We like you. We're gonna keep you forever after that. Judy, how about you? How about you? So why do you believe it's so important for leaders to be engaged in the industry, and some advice on somebody who wants to start getting involved?
I remember way back having a conversation with my husband, Jim, who said, he was a firm believer in giving back to the industry that gave to him, that gives to him, right? And so it's important to, be engaged and help us to keep moving forward. And like Ryan says, there's such a wealth of information when you go to these meetings. Not only the speakers, but I was involved in benchmarking for a long time, and we get together and go to dinner as a New England association a lot of time at the bigger meetings. I think you equally learn as much sitting at those dinner tables, listening to everybody talk. Like Ryan said, just sitting and listening, right? So I needed to really throw myself into that pool because I had so much to learn. But even for people who are lifelong in the industry, well versed, I don't think if you don't get involved, you aren't on the cutting edge of things that are happening on your state level, on the national level. And right now, for our industry, it's so important to be proactive, to get ahead of some of these bills that are going on in our state. And if you're not involved, you just don't know. And the next thing you know, there's been another law passed that's another tax on our fuel, or another block to our fuel, and we haven't moved forward to do anything about it. So I think, especially now, it's vital for us to stay engaged and informed.
Yeah, and Ryan, we can relate jumping in 2 feet first, right? Jess and I one day said we should go to the MPGA board of director meeting and see what that's all about. And fast forward 3 years later, 2 years later, podcasts, we're in different councils. I mean, it just kept growing and growing, and it's crazy. It is. And this industry, I like what you said, Judy. Give back to the industry that gave us this. And I'm going to plug a couple organizations. So if people are listening to this right now and they're a young professional, what can I do? The NPGA has a young professional council. Reach out to them. Go to the board of director meeting. Go to the expo. Go to the Northeast show coming up at the end of the year. Go check out the young professional council if you're under the age of 40. They got a great group going. If you're a woman or a man, Women Propane, I'm doing podcasts for them. Women Propane Council, check them out. They have a mentorship program called the Knowledge Exchange. Maybe you want to get more involved, but you need that mentorship. Sign up for the mentorship or the Knowledge Exchange. You got a great product that hooks you up with somebody that you can mentor. Just being involved. Like I said, Jess and I and everyone watching, we're doing a live podcast at the Northeast show in August, I believe, is the month. We're excited about it, and we're excited. We want the audience to be full of people that want to learn from these guests that we have. Like you said, Ryan, we're all the same age and we're all going to retire the same age. I went to the first board of director meeting and I'm like, I feel like super young right now. It's like, holy smokes, but they're starting to come in, like I said, the Young Professional Council. So really excited. I'm glad that you both took the time to have a podcast with us today. I just want you two to plug something that you both said once, and I want you to say it again because this is kind of the workforce development conversation. And we want to get to those kids. I know both of you are more involved in bringing back the trades. Can each of you just kind of talk more about what that is and how to be more involved with it? Because you're right, propane is a trade. It should be part of that discussion. And I've talked to a lot of regional managers that start off as truck or propane delivery guys. I talked to management that started off as a service tech. I love this trade. I love this industry. So Ryan, Judy, talk a little bit more about bringing back the trade.
Well, again, it's associated with Mike Rowe, Dirty Jobs. He's involved in it at a higher level. So a lot of times when they market it, they mention him, and it gets a lot of attention. Um, I think one of the things that's important if you're going to get involved and be involved in one of their workforce programs, and you do a booth, you got to have something there that's going to attract the kids. You can't just throw a 420 in the booth and think they're going to hang around, right? So you got to have something fun. And this fall, when I did it, not only did I have Leslie's car, but I've got this fire table called Blazing Beats that the flames go to the beat of the music. Well, can I tell you? No one was leaving my booth. It was a little chilly anyway, but you have to gear it to the kids. You got to catch their attention first, then you got to have something to keep it. And in the initial onset, if people don't understand propane, we're not necessarily an exciting trade like automotive or electrical or culinary, right? So Leslie brought that spin the wheel for a prize. And I thought, well, maybe, right? Kids were crazy over that thing. And they were like, oh my gosh, I won a ruler. I'm like, really? But I mean, they loved it. And you have to have something in the booth to keep them engaged. Food, having food in there for them. And then once you've got their attention and you can tell them a little bit about who you are and what you do and how you're family oriented and uh, I think I think we're growing as a recognizable trade, and the more that we become visible, the better we're going to be because we've really been that. There's plumbing, electrical, right? Auto mechanics, propane. Well, what do you do for propane?
Yeah, and I would agree, Judy. The bring, so I think we've finally broken that stigma of everybody out of high school has to go to college. I think that stigma has finally been broken. I've been talking in high schools at career days for, you know, 15, 16 years on and off. And that was the question that I would always ask at the beginning of a career day. What's everybody doing after high school? Going to college, going into the military, going into the trades, going into the workforce. And I can tell you over the last probably 3 years, the numbers have changed drastically. People are seeing that there's work to be done in the trades. People are seeing that they have the opportunity to go into the military. People are seeing that they're needed in the workforce as well. But it's very, very, very important that everybody understand, and I think Bring Back the Trades does a good job of this on a national level, that you don't have to go to a 4-year college. Uh, Not everybody belongs there. And, I myself was one of them. I thought I needed to go to college out of high school. I lasted for a year and a half, and then I get into the propane industry. So, it's very important for us to realize as a society that not everybody belongs in a 4-year college. And I think that Bring Back the Trades does a really good job in bringing that to the forefront of everything that goes on in society. How do we separate ourselves and how do we show people that propane is a good industry to get into? We have to be labeled as an industry, not just HVAC electricians, plumbers. We need propane as an industry. And people need to understand that they can make very good livings being in our industry, and make a career out of it.
I hope everybody listening to this podcast right now that all their wheels are turning because you guys had amazing pieces of advice. And I hope that they think that they can make an impact to their local community as well. Attending those elementaries, the high schools, the bringing back your trades. I hope everybody is thinking that if we all join together, we are going to make a huge impact. And we have made a huge impact so far on our industry and bringing back the trades. Thank you, Ryan and Judy, both for attending our special edition Through the Leadership Lens podcast presented by PGANE. So thank you both for joining. I know a lot of people are taking some tremendous advice away that you both have shared, and I hope they learned a thing or two along the way. So thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
Thanks for
Thank you,
having us.
Ryan.
Thanks, guys.
And that's a wrap on this episode of Through the Leadership Lens, a podcast proudly presented by the Women Propane Council.
If you enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to subscribe, download, and share it with a friend or colleague.
And if you want to learn more about Women in Propane, connect with us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram,
Or visit us online at www.womeninpropane.org.
I'm Freddie Ridler.
And I'm Jessica Balderston. Thanks for listening.
And keep leading with purpose and vision.